Hey, what's going on, folks? We got another exciting podcast episode, in my opinion. This time, we're talking about the money.
Yeah.
So we'll try to be brief in our introduction about how me and this guy crossed paths. I'll try to be as quick as I can be, but I'll let him introduce himself, give you the official. So, Grant, I'm going to let you do your official. I know it's Grant Dougherty, but I want you to officially introduce yourself and what you do, and then we're going to go from there.
Yeah. My name is Grant Dougherty. I'm originally from the Houston area. Born in Houston, was raised in Pearland. Went to Dawson High School, of all the places. And then I also attended Prairie View A&M University, where I played baseball.
And we ain't going to be mad at him as TSU folk. We ain't not going to be mad about that.
No, take it
but
easy.
But he a proud PV grad.
Yeah. No, very proud. I almost wore my gear.
You should have.
I
forgot. You told me when we were going to schedule this the other day, you was ready. And also, I was ready then. And I totally flipped my mind because, life takes over.
It's all good. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, no, I love the rivalry, with Prairie View. I played baseball there, man. We got swept. We swept them. So, the sting and the love is all there. So, anytime I get to come up to TSU and wear my Prairie View gear, I wouldn't miss it.
You will do it? Okay.
So, y'all lucky I had to wash my shirt that day. So.
Well, welcome back to the campus. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Also, you have a book, too. I want you to mention that because I want people to be able to go, because we're going to be talking about money, particularly taxes. So I want them to know that you actually have a book that they can go get some knowledge. So they'll get some knowledge from you here, but there's probably way more in the book.
Right. Yeah, and so the book is called Tax Strategies You Can't Find on Google. It is an ebook.
Okay.
You can find it by going to one of my social media pages and just clicking the link there. And you can just, you can get it there. If you use code TAX, you can get, I believe it's 45% off. I lose tracks of the codes, but I think TAX is 45% off. You guys want to go check it out. So yeah,
give them the social link since you gave the social. I usually wait to the end, but since you already mentioned it, hit it now, and then we'll hit it again at the end.
My Instagram is Dougherty Tax Solutions, and my Twitter is Doe Tax Solutions, DOU Tax Solutions. Okay, those are my two biggest platforms that I use. I'm most active on. I am an enrolled agent, which means that I am federally authorized to represent taxpayers before the IRS on certain tax matters, and I can also file taxes in all 50 states and with any expatriates that may live abroad. So I've worked with a lot. I've seen a lot. I mostly work with small business owners and real estate investors that make less than $1 million a year. So that's like my general niche. I've been trying to focus more and more on real estate. Just because that is, in my opinion, is one of the biggest niches that where investors initially begin to invest in real estate and they grow a large portfolio. There are a lot of caveats that go into real estate taxes. So that's one of the areas where I've been picking my niche in.
Okay. I'm curious. Went to school here. What got you to PV?
So honestly, it was one of the schools that wanted to work with me and play baseball. It wasn't the only offer. It was just the offer that just happened to, it was Division I, growing up, playing baseball in high school, you hear Division I baseball and you want to go. And they were actually the only Division I that wanted to work with me. There were a few D2s, D3s, some junior colleges. I started off going to junior college and then transferred over to Prairie View. And that's how I ended up there. And so I was there from 2011 to 2015.
Was your goal to go further with baseball? I'm going to do this in college, let them get me through college, and then later on I'm going to do some other stuff.
It was one of those things where I would not have, passed up on the opportunity had it fallen in. And I definitely gave it my all, know. But playing college sports, you quickly realize that there really are just like, I'm going to, call them freaks of nature. Like there are just some people who are just bigger, faster, stronger. They hit the ball, so much harder than you.
And you realize this as you're going through that there's these huge differences.
I realized that back in high school. They were just, freaks of nature. You can be skilled and, don't get it wrong. The skill jump from high school to college is a whole, level of skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, it was an experience, but yeah, no. I quickly realized I needed to focus on getting good grades, and so I chose business as like a major. That's what I went to go study. I started off in corporate America, whenever I first graduated. And then so I actually went to grad school first, and I got an MBA, and then I went to go work in corporate America. And then around 2020 is when I started my own business.
What made you take that leap? That's to work for corporate America, you could have stayed there, let's be honest, for the rest of your life and make a fair salary.
So what made me take the leap was one of those situations. I just started to my business had taken off by the time that I had really made that leap. So it was one of those things where
independently, you were doing so much work independently outside of work that you
I could have
felt
made that
comfortable
leap.
enough to say, this is ridiculous, me going into this 9 to 5. I can just do this myself.
Yeah, so I was aware of like the tax situation. So I had marked it all out, and when the situation presented itself, I left, very clean cut. It was very easy, and I was running my own business, and it was one of those things that it was initially scary, because even to this day, the future is very unknown. Like, I do not know, like, when I wake up tomorrow, even when I woke up today, I didn't make any money.
I got you. I feel you.
You have to go.
You're an entrepreneur. That's why I love to have these kind of conversations. Yeah. And a lot of the people that I've talked to on this podcast, always entrepreneurs. Even if comedian or almost all the things that they do, they have a sense of that entrepreneur spirit.
Right.
And I believe that you people are made different. I believe entrepreneurs, the guy or gal that will wake up and say, I'm not going to work here anymore. I'm going to just take a chance and risk it all.
Right.
And then, by the way, because people won't always support you, and you have a wife.
Yeah.
You go to her and you say, hey, honey, quitting. She says...
Oh, no. She actually was very supportive of me.
Was she? Oh, good,
my wife
good,
was,
good. She was like, do it, baby.
Yeah, no, my wife has always been very supportive.
Okay, cool.
There were others that were not as supportive of me.
Right,
and they presented all of the cons that could happen, right? That's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's good to understand what can go wrong, right? That can be a motivation factor every single day whenever I wake up. Like I said, also the fact that I haven't made any money, until you go and do something, you make an impact, you do something, you haven't made any money. So it is a constant motivation to get up. I work harder now, but I have more freedom to work. I don't have to go in and check in at 9 to 5. Like, if I wanted to, I could show up today at 1 o'clock and make a podcast. I can block out my schedule and go and do it. So a lot of freedom.
You prefer the freedom.
Especially since I have kids. My kids, I currently work out of my home office, and so I'm constantly home with my kids, with my wife.
Really cool.
Yeah, my wife is also a stay-at-home mom, so we're at home all day, with the kids, watching them grow. It really puts a lot of relief on her too. So that because my wife and I, we want to have a lot of kids. So whenever she's like pregnant and stuff, I have to be there to help her out and stuff. So it's actually like a real joy.
I have to ask, what is a lot? Because I already know you have 2 because we talk.
I guess that depends,
I'm sure you two have had this conversation and you just threw it out there that we want to have a lot. So I just was curious. I'm like, I'm going to just ask this and then we can move on. What is a lot?
I think she wants to have 3 boys. And then we currently have 1 girl, so I say a minimum would probably be 4 to 5.
Okay, that's a nice little gang.
Yeah, max. I'm not going to put a max number on it because we do want a large family.
Okay, all right. Well, good luck on that. Good luck on that.
Thanks, man.
And let me real briefly, folks. So I'm going down the streets of Instagram, which is a terrible street sometimes, and you can fall into that rabbit hole of hell. And we're still not really sure how we came across each other. But I know I stopped following a lot of crazy stuff, and I like to follow a lot of money stuff, to be honest with you, because when I see something, I want my brains to take in information, and it's just me and money, Anyway, so I don't remember exactly how. I don't know if I asked a question one day, you said something, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if you could ask me a question or if you, maybe I think I was following you, and I think you saw something that I posted, and maybe when I seen your picture, I'm like, hey, I follow that guy. Oh man, one of the money guys is following me. I got really excited. So then I went down a rabbit hole, and I don't know if I said something to you or what, and you hit me back though, and you're like, man, I grew up listening to you. I'm like, what? This guy from Houston? This is crazy, man. The world is crazy. And ever since then, we've been kind of like going back and forth. And I'm like, hey, man, I got to get you on this podcast because we haven't really delved into money. And we haven't yet, and I apologize, but I wanted him to give a little background to who he is. And he's just a cool guy, so I wanted you guys to have that. But I know you want to hear about money, in particular tax. Why'd you go into the tax side? There's a lot of different money things you can do.
Yeah, so how did I get it started in tax? I think it started off as I started off doing bookkeeping, and then when I got good at bookkeeping, I realized, there's a whole nother level to this with regards to tax. Mm-hmm. Not to mention I had to file my own tax return, so. It's one of those situations. I took the classes in school. I had taken them before, so the information was relatively there. And then when I sat down, I realized, man, there are how many Americans? 350 million. Mm-hmm. 150 million of them file tax returns. Of those 150 million, probably.
First of all, you just said that's only half of them, so that's a whole nother issue. We'll address that.
You got to think about kids and stuff. Kids.
Okay, got you.
So. Yeah, if you really want to go into the stats, there's a lot of them. But yeah, about 150 million tax returns, give or take. I don't know how close that number really is. Mm-hmm. And if that's to account for like kids that don't file tax returns, right. People who don't have income. Other things that aren't taxable are going to be like VA benefits. So someone could be living off VA benefits. They essentially wouldn't have to file a tax return because that's not taxable. Mm-hmm. There's a couple reasons you should file a tax return. If you are like,
I have some friends that have not.
Yeah, no, you should. It not only is it technically criminal, but
Thank you for letting them know that they could go to jail.
Yeah, no. If whenever situations come out like the stimulus checks come out, you wouldn't get a stimulus check unless you filed a tax return. So it's things like that. It's very important to file your tax returns.
Did this start for you accidentally? Because people are like, oh yeah, you like very casually like, oh yeah, I can do your taxes for you. Did it start? Did it start from that basic of a place, or was there a motive like, I know I'm getting ready to do this as far as taxes are concerned and start targeting these folks to do taxes for them? So
it started off as like a few friends, that I knew in college,
right.
Needed me to like give them some help. So that's really, how it started. And then from there, I was like, let me just give it a shot on social media, let me just start making posts. And it was one of those things I got into. I had seen some other pages, and they talk about like, if you want to grow your page, you just got to be consistent, provide decent, good information. And so that's what I just started doing. I would go to Twitter, I would tweet something that I felt like people needed to understand. I would try to take somewhat complex situations and break it down to a very basic level of understanding, and just start putting it out there.
And some of I'll be honest with you now, some of the IG posts that you put out there, the ideas, some of them are complex. I'm glad that you put it out there, though, because you can only say but so much on a page. Yeah. And so you try to get to the point of it all quickly, which I really, really love, because there's some concepts of things I totally didn't understand. Mm-hmm. Then I'm starting to look at, the posts that you would put. I'm like, okay, I need to think about that. Oh, I never thought about that. Okay, that's kind of crazy right there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because so many guys and gals are out there and they're putting information up and you just don't understand it. Let me ask you this. What's the biggest issue from all the clients that you've seen? What's the biggest? Because there's always these commonalities that you'll probably see in some of your most basic, when you do taxes for folks. What's probably some of give me one of the biggest things that people are overlooking, not thinking about, falling down on, not doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. And before we go into it, regarding some of like the posts that, that you would see on social media, always contact a tax advisor. And
Look, my man putting the disclaimer.
Yeah,
I know that's right.
Yeah, always contact a tax advisor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can get information that is specific to your tax
That's
situation.
very important.
Right.
That's very important.
Because whenever
what I need and what my guy over here, Mr. Johnny, needs is going to probably be two different needs.
Yeah. So and that's what I was going to lead up into the next part, which was, what is the most common thing that you see like missed or. So it depends, right? I see all sorts of things, right? So for business owners, bookkeeping would be a big one, right? Bookkeeping is very sloppy, especially amongst small business owners. And if you don't have your books solid. If you don't have a good foundation, you can't build a house. And bookkeeping is going to be your foundation whenever it comes to like running a business, owning rental properties, different things like that. As crazy as it is, one of the largest expenses or expenses that you can claim for a rental for a real estate investor is going to be depreciation. However, that is one of the largest missed expenses that I see. If I just like review someone's tax returns, someone, I offer consultations. They say, hey, like, can you review my tax return? As I review it, if I were to, one of the most commonly missed things would be that depreciation, line 18.
How important is that?
I would say it's very important because whenever you go to sell that asset, so and I may talk about something a little complex here, but
that's okay.
Whenever you go to sell an asset that you claim depreciation on, you have to pay a depreciation recapture tax. That the IRS, whenever you go to sell your asset, will calculate that depreciation recapture tax no matter if you took the depreciation or not. So it's very important for that specific reason is that.
Wow. So when you go to if you don't take it,
you're still going to be taxed on it whenever you sell the asset.
So you might as well take advantage of it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good point.
So whenever you're claiming, looking at things like that, highly recommend it because there's also advanced strategies like, there's accelerated depreciation strategies where you can accelerate the amount of depreciation you claim on a rental unit, and you can use that loss to offset other rental income. Most of the time we can start talking about like passive income versus active income, which is a whole nother strategy whenever you're looking at especially like high net worth individuals.
Let me ask you this. Most people, do they need to see a tax specialist? If this guy or gal average American makes maybe, don't be mad at me, y'all, maybe $50,000 a year. Would it be advantageous to them? Because most of them just going to run the H&R Block, get the one sheet or whatever the other one is called. Like, it's escaping me right now. I can't remember the name of it. But they probably just go there, do the most basic, and when they get some money back, they felt like they just won the lottery, which many people don't realize that, that was just your money and they're just giving it back to you. You didn't really win anything. What it is, they held your money, they did whatever they did, and they just didn't give it back to you to the end of the year or whenever you get it back.
Correct.
But if there's some things that you can do, there's some deductions that you can take during the year. Because I guess it hurts you when you do your taxes and it's zeroed out.
Yeah.
You didn't get anything, because I think we're all led to believe that we should be getting a ton of money back.
Right.
And when that doesn't happen and you get zero, you're like, oh man, I didn't win the lottery. So I don't know if you have a particular viewpoint on that. Like, no, you want to take all the deductions you can, and you want to come out with zero. I don't know if there's a preference amongst the tax people as to how they want their client to come out or what's best. If you got to get some money back, I guess cool, but I don't know if there's a preferred, kind of individual or business.
So the answer, and you're going to quickly realize I'm going to say this a lot because it's a very, any tax people that are out there listening, they're going to quickly laugh at this, but it depends, right? Like, it really all depends on the person. Some people are very good at budgeting and saving their money. And so, if they owe, I've seen people owe like, $400,000, $500,000 at tax time. And to them, it's just like, and don't get it wrong. If $400,000, $500,000 tax bill for someone who makes $1.5 million, that's still a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
If they are especially spending a lot. So, it depends, right? Someone who's good at budgeting, I don't think it would really matter. Now, you would want to understand things like the underpayment penalty, okay? Because there is a penalty for not making estimated tax payments, and there are pros and cons to it, right? A lot of people are like, I'm going to hold on to my money, I'm going to invest it, I'm going to make a larger return than the penalty would essentially be. And that is good in theory. You just have to make sure you invest your money and you're actually getting that return, like you said. But if you decide not to do that, right, you will be hit with an estimated tax penalty. And also there are other instances, like in the event that you're ever like in trouble with the IRS, if you haven't been making your estimated tax payments, you are not up to date on your tax payments, essentially. So you wouldn't be able to get any type of like penalty abatement or different things like that. That's a little bit more advanced, outside of just regular tax preparation. That's more like tax resolution.
Do you do mostly personal, or are you business, or you just do both?
Yeah, mostly.
Depends on what comes to you.
So now, whenever you say personal taxes, so you can have a business, but your business tax return gets attached to your personal tax return.
This is true.
So
absolutely.
In that regards, it's mostly like 1040s that I file. A lot of them are business owners or real estate investors. But whenever you're talking about like business returns, that's like S corps, C corps, and partnerships. I'd have about 15 to 20 of those, not too many of those, to be honest. Those are a little bit more complex, and I charge a lot more for those.
So let me make sure I'm clear. So if I'm a guy, I make $50,000 a year, $50,000 a year. Do I need to see a tax guy? Who should I talk to about my money situation? Because maybe I want to learn how to better invest. I want to know what to do with my money. I'm having some problems here. I'm having some problems there. Should I be going to a tax guy to have this conversation?
I think if you have a business, you should be seeing a tax person. I think if you own real estate, you should be seeing a tax person. But for most people who have just a W-2 job, maybe some investments on the side. Like if you're just, maybe if you trade a lot, if you do cryptocurrency, you should definitely see a tax advisor. But if you are like a long-term investor, you just invest, maybe you have some dividends, things like that, you could probably just either do it yourself or go to H&R Block, because that wouldn't be too complex. But the moment you have a business, or you have I wouldn't say one rental property, you could probably manage that yourself, but 2, 3, 4, you should for sure make that switch, because there's a lot of caveats that go into owning real estate, and there are deductions that are involved with that. Things like the safe harbor limitations and things like that.
How hard is your job to do? And also, as you speak about being hard, when are people coming to see a tax guy or gal? When are they last minute around April you see them, or?
Yeah, the big flood comes in around March, April. That's probably the largest flood of when people are reaching out to you. The second largest, income of people would probably be close to the tax filing extension deadlines. That's around September, October. You get quite a bit of a rush there. Year-end tax planning, you start getting into tax season is also a little bit of a rush. I've marketed myself to where I kind of try to have people reaching out to me year-round.
I was going to ask you that too. I'm like, I don't want to sound dumb, but most people, when they think tax, they think that H&R Block, they see them once and then there's the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, I know I'm going back and forth. My apologies, folks, but yeah, how do you eat when the bulk of your people might only come at these certain times per year? You know what I'm saying? Because they may only feel like they only need you tax time.
Yeah. So one of the worst feelings in the world is to go prepare your taxes and find out that you owe $15,000 in taxes and you don't have it, right? So that is why essentially you would tax plan, is because not only do you get insight into what's actually happening with your business, but now you can start to plan around that, right? You can come, what are some ideas that I can do? A lot of people don't even realize, okay, we all know about a 401k, that's a retirement plan at your employer, but self-employed individuals can actually open up something that's known as a solo 401k, which is like a 401k on steroids almost. So the max for a 401k contribution that you can put into a 401k regular is $20,500 this year. You can get a tax deduction for that. For a solo 401k, it is $61,000 max. Now, it's not a flat $61,000. There's like a structure component to it, where the first half is based off of it's a contribution by the employee, which would, if you're self-employed, you're the employee and the employer. So the first $20,500 is an employee contribution, and the remaining $40,000 or so would be the employer contribution. And so there's like a formula that goes into the employer part of that contribution.
Man, what to you? I'm trying to ask questions that I think somebody watching, because I don't want to ask personal questions for me because I would have so many.
Oh man, shoot away! You have no idea. So
okay, I'm gonna ask you this, and I hope this applies to some people because my mother is older.
Okay.
And this was one. I don't know if I asked you this. Maybe I did, but my mother's older. My mother's 81, and this might be a dumb question. She has some real estate for Medicaid and Medicare, for them to continue to take care of you. You can't have any money on the books, so to speak. If they, even the monies that they get coming in Social Security, you can only have a certain amount of money, because they're going to take that money, and if you have to go to like a home or something, like nursing home or something like that, they're going to take whatever you got. But you can't have any property, no money, whatever you got to drain it, and you just can't give it away. Some weird stuff. Yeah. So I was concerned because they're like, my mom had this one little property, family property, and they're like, oh, well, Medicare can't take care of it. She has this property in her name. So they're like, so you can put it up for sale and sell it. So you get money back from that. I'm like, okay, does my mom need to file on this? And does she need to be filing every year at the age of 81 and just getting money from Social Security? Maybe dumb question. I don't know.
So if you get Social Security, you should be filing. You should receive a tax form. You may not owe any taxes, but you should receive a tax form where you should be filing.
Really? Because she hasn't, at least in the last 2 years that I know about. Maybe I shouldn't have said that on camera.
Oh, it's all. Look, I've seen way. If you said 2 years, I've seen way more than that. So that's she should get it filed. But. Technically, with Social Security, yes, you should receive a tax form, and you would file that. Now, there are certain benefits that are not taxable. So depending on for example, the VA benefits, that would not be a taxable event.
Okay.
But if you sold the home, right, now that's capital gains. Yeah, you would have to file a tax return for that. So now if it's a personal home, there's an exclusion that everyone can take advantage of. So if you own a personal home and you live in it for 2 years in a 5-year span, then you can sell that home. And if you're single, you can exclude the first $250,000 of capital gains from your paying taxes on it. And if you're married, filing jointly, you can exclude $500,000 in capital gains.
Some of this stuff is big and way over my head, man. It was just land too. It wasn't a home. It was just property.
It's all good, man.
It was just property. Other biggest problem that you see people have when they come to you. What do you see the most? Where you like, this happens all the time.
Yeah. So like if you're maybe a new business owner, one of the most common questions I get is like, what can I actually deduct on my tax return? What can I deduct as a business owner?
Go for that car first.
Yeah. So I mean that's a very common one. There's a lot of caveats that go into owning a vehicle. You're gonna have to track your miles if you want to deduct vehicle miles. But that is an expense. Vehicle expenses. I tell people to go and pull up a Schedule C, and then we look at the expenses section, and it kind of lists it out all the different line items. And I tell them that some things are not going to be on there. Like, for example, your phone bill, they don't have a line item for phone bill, right? That may have to go into like either an office expense or it may have to actually go into like other expenses. But advertising, not everyone, but some taxpayers are entitled to take a home office deduction. So a lot of, like your utilities, your mortgage interest, if you live in an apartment, part of your rent can all be deducted with like your home office expense. Not everyone qualifies to take it, so you would want to of course check with the tax advisor, make sure that you can take the home office expense. The way I like to sum it up for people is if it's ordinary and necessary, and there's actually a third one, if it's reasonable. So if other people, what are other tax advisors? Like, are other tax advisors going out and buying a Maserati and deducting it on their tax return? Probably not, right? It's not reasonable. Now you can, I've heard of people try to make the argument, and that's the shady gray part of the tax code, right? Is that a lot of it is based on interpretation. Ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. That's pretty much what the IRS says is needed.
To them, that Maserati was needed.
Exactly. So you would have to. I always tell people, imagine it's not me who is going to be relatively friendly. Imagine that it's an IRS agent. And you're trying to tell them that it's reasonable, right? They've worked with numerous audit situations exactly like this. So, yeah, no. And I'm not a big fan of the luxury part of the tax code, right? Because I feel like that's where, again, you run into that shady gray area. I've worked with people who have had deductions thrown out. Like they went and had to, work with someone. They come to me when they're getting audited, because, they deducted stuff. And it gets tossed out because it doesn't hold up ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Mm-hmm. And that problem that creates is really not one that you want to go down. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for being aggressive to an extent, right? There is that fine line that I wouldn't want to cross, and a lot of it, a lot of luxury things I would probably tend to stay away from, just because that necessary part.
What are the three things again?
Ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. I meant reasonable. Is it reasonable? That's the third one. So, but yeah, people have. It would blow your mind if you just sat there and look at different court cases of things that have been approved. I mean, there's some crazy ones out there, and I don't want to go too much into it, but if you guys want to do some research, there have times been when dog food has been deducted because someone owns a junkyard, and so
the junkyard dog.
Yeah, the junkyard dog. They got
that
cats.
Sounds reasonable to me.
No.
I can go for that. If I have a junkyard and I got a junkyard dog who's like the guard dog,
it's held up.
I think I should be able to write that off.
Look, if I really went into it, I don't know how appropriate some of the things. There's some funny ones out there. Let me just say that.
Give me one more. Give me one more that you've heard that somebody deducted.
Off the top of my head, there was someone who got surgery done, and they actually got that validated, because they were
an
like
influencer. They were a dancer.
Yeah, they were like a dancer.
That was their business, and they were able to write it off.
Yeah. I don't remember all of the intricacies, and I'm not saying go out and do this, right? Because this was a court case where. I believe one of the stipulations was whenever she was done working, she had to remove them. I don't know how.
What? Okay.
I don't know how they're going to validate that, right? There's some, like I said, there's some interesting ones out there.
Okay, got you.
But I generally
you're stay away.
Yeah.
If it's questionable, if it doesn't seem reasonable, probably back up. 50 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, there's always being aggressive, right? Whenever you start talking about purchasing real estate to get bonus depreciation to offset your income, right? That is a strategy that you want to look at. Bonus depreciation, utilizing retirement accounts, different things like that are things that you want to aggressively look at.
Okay. All right. How hard is it if I get this book? The book is called Tax Strategies You Can't Find on Google. How hard of a read is this? Can the ordinary guy or gal like myself, can we get this book and can we understand some of these practices that you have in the book? Because what my fear is that the book would be so far over my head. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to try to write off from what I just read.
Yeah. I would like to say yes, it is. But if anyone ever gets it and they don't like it, they're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'll happily refund you if it was just way over your head. But I would like to say that I did break it down to a relatively, very easy, some of the things like statute of limitations, how long should you keep your tax records, right? I go over all that's, all those different scenarios. I go over some scenarios where okay, what types of income are not taxable? Okay, so I kind of list it out. So. And then, I get into some of the real estate things, like I talk about 1031 exchanges and depreciation and different things like that. So maybe that part may get a little bit more complicated, but overall, I'd say it's pretty
good, easy read. And I'll learn some stuff, and there might be some tax things that I can take advantage of this coming year. Man, I appreciate you so much. I'm going to have to sign up for one of the sessions because I got so many questions. I want to say some, because I got properties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I got some weird stuff that's probably happening where I need to sit down with you and have an extended time.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
But for the folks, again, give them the information so they can follow you. I know you give a lot of great information online because I follow you, so I know. And it's all very useful, so I appreciate that and thank you for that information. But there's people that they're going to be looking for information and I think anyone who is interested in money, I don't care how much you make. I think if you're interested in money, taking advantage of some of the tax breaks that could be out there, I think that you should see a tax person. Personally, I think that you should read up on it and understand, because even for the guy or gal making $50,000 or less right now, that may not always be the case.
Right.
At some point, you may double, triple, quadruple that money, or maybe even more. And the sooner you start learning some of these practices, you can start implementing these practices, and your money is long.
Yeah.
And so we're interested in that. But give them the information.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Dougherty Tax Solutions, Dougherty Tax Solutions. On Instagram. That's my Instagram. On Twitter, it's Dough Tax Solutions, DOU Tax Solutions. Taxes, they say that taxes is your life's largest expense. So if you can potentially take advantage of the tax code and reduce the amount of taxes that you pay, you should definitely not pass up on that knowledge.
The book, is it only available when I go to your Instagram? Because I know I can connect on your Instagram and all your stuff is there. But can I go to Amazon or somewhere else?
So I don't think it's on Amazon. It is an ebook.
Okay.
It is on Gumroad. So if you go to Gumroad, you can purchase it through Gumroad. But other than that, try to go to the links on my Instagram or Twitter, and you can find it that way.
All right, and I got to ask, you're a Houston guy, so I got to find out, what's your favorite classic Houston record?
Oh man, there's Mo City Done. There's
you can stop right there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
no, go ahead.
I mean,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
There's a bunch, right? Peeping in my window with Lil Kiki. That one.
Okay.
Of all the funny ones, Reppin' My Block by Rob G.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What a grab. Okay.
I would say that's a classic.
Okay.
I have a few.
That's nice.
I listen to a lot of Zero. I listen to. So I don't really listen to as much music anymore. But back in the day, I used to jam a lot of Zero, a lot of Slim Thug, Paul Wall. Still Tipping.
Obviously, yeah. One of the classics.
Devin the Dude. All those guys.
Devin, love Devin. All right, greatest PV experience.
Oh my goodness.
He said it like it was too many.
I would just say either going on the road, some of the road trips that we had. So, we went to the SWAC championship, and 1 year was in Fort Worth, but 2 years it was in New Orleans. So, we would, I don't want to get into too much.
Is this a story you can get into?
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't going to get into too much detail. I don't want to. Yeah, but we had fun in New Orleans. Went to Bourbon Street. But outside of that, right? Have you ever been to like Prairie View's homecoming?
I have.
Oh.
I have. I used to always go, especially back in the days when I was working at the box. So,
as an undergrad,
we'd go every year. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh,
crazy!
It's a little bit more chill now that I've graduated. But when I was an undergrad, I was a little bit younger. It was college. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Hey, but Probably,
did you meet your wife at PV?
Yeah, so actually that's my greatest experience.
Okay, I'm trying to lead you to that because I don't want to be watching this and be like, wait, God,
I'll talk about it actually. So it was very funny how we actually met. So she was actually up at the library studying with some people. It was in the so back whenever I was in undergrad, we called it Club Library, which is the computer lab in the library.
Okay.
So I walk in there with some teammates. She's already studying, and I was I thought she was very good looking. So I immediately just sat down. There was a seat that was open next to her. I sat down and I just is this? I first asked her, is this seat taken? And she told me no. So that was my invitation. So I started talking to her. Did not get her number there, as crazy as it may sound. I didn't grab her number. Ran into her in the cafeteria like the next day or something like that, and grabbed her number there. And then that was my senior year that was my junior year in college.
Oh wow! So how many years is that for you now? That's
Man, we've been together a while.
About 10 years.
Look,
I'm doing your math. 8.
We would have met in 2013, late 2013.
Here I am doing your mathematics.
So we didn't immediately start seeing each other in 2013. Like I would say we started really seeing each other in like 2014.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's almost 10 years. That's 8 years now.
Yeah,
so.
Congratulations, man. What's special about her?
Oh man, I could tell that right off the get-go that not only is she really good looking, but she's very intelligent, and I could tell right off the get-go, she's very good with kids, and I knew that this is who I want to be the mother of my kids. That's really what stuck out for me.
And what is success to Grant?
What is success to me? Oh man, that's a really good question. I would probably say, being able to spend time with the people that you love and having a good relationship with them, that's probably going to be success. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't put a financial number on it because of course, financial security is one of the things that would come along with that. But you don't need all the money in the world to really be successful, and I've worked with a bunch of millionaires that are just, miserable, right? So I definitely wouldn't say that it's a number or dollar figure. I wouldn't say that it's like a superstar that just hit, his, 500th home run, even though that's really cool and very talented. To me, I would say that, being able to spend time with the people that you love and, building good relationships with them, that's successful.
Got you. And here I am. We talked baseball, and I didn't ask you. Obviously, I want to think if you're from H-Town.
Oh, Astros.
I would like to think, but I don't want to. You could say some other team, and I don't know. But I'm just curious are the Astros your favorite?
Oh yeah,
okay,
man.
Okay.
Man, shout out to my man Paul Wall. I've never seen a rapper throw in Houston sports into his songs the way how he does.
He
it.
loves the Astros,
man. What's that song he did it with Lil Kiki? Break 'Em Off. That is that's a classic. I can't believe I left that off.
He went back to it.
He shouts out Berkman. He shouts out a few
people.
Paul
is the king of the shout out rap. He'll put your name in it so smooth.
Yeah.
That's what I used to call it, shout out rap. He is great at. I love Paul, such a great guy. But,
yeah, he's cool.
So you were very excited about this Astro season then?
Oh yeah, and in 2017, I still got my little replica ring that
Will they make it back again this year?
I would like to think so. There's a lot of. One thing I've realized, playing baseball, it's not about being the best team. It's about who gets hot at the right time. So as long as they can get hot at the right time, which this past year they really did, that's really all that matters. You could be the last team going into the playoffs and end up winning. I think the Nationals did that, back in 2019. So, I like the energy that the Astros fans bring to the games. It gets hectic, but I think they got it, man.
Okay, we'll see. I'm gonna hold you on that, Mr. Grant.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time. I know you had to block it out for me, man, but I appreciate your time.
No, it was a pleasure.
And I'm really hoping that people get something out of it. I've never talked to a tax person. I know I didn't ask all the questions that I should because now that you're in front of me, everything has ran out the window. But I hope if they have a question, they just hit you directly, and hopefully you can set them on the right path and get their money game straight. So thank you again, brother.
No, thank you.